We are live.
Hi everyone.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Hayley.
And this is the Speed Mooting Partners in Crime podcast.
Episode 60.
Episode 60, it's a big number.
That is a big number.
Yeah, so that means we've been on for 59 weeks.
What's that in like months?
Well, 52 weeks is, 52 weeks is a year, isn't it? So 8 weeks beyond that, about 14 months.
Boom.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad. And as you all know, we name our episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So we name our episodes in relation to something that correlates to the episode number. So we've done Formula 1 driver numbers and we're getting towards the tail end now actually. In actual fact, we haven't got that many left. Let's see where we're up to. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Well, actually only 8 numbers left on the current numbering system. No, 9 actually. 9 numbers left on the current numbering system. So we've thought outside the box a little bit, haven't we? So we've been doing, occasionally if there's a wrestling link, if there's a link to football, particularly Everton, sometimes Liverpool, and we've also done looking at the Grand Prix number as well. But we've done that for the past couple of weeks now, so I thought I'd shake it up again.
Yeah, we need something different, John.
So I did a little search, because we haven't done a wrestling linked one for a while, have we? And I did a search for wrestlers born in 1960.
Okay.
It's a little bit left field, this one, but you know, if you like wrestling, and you know, particularly if you were watching back in my day, you'd know who this person is. So it's there was a guy born in 1960, Dean Malenko. He was the man of 1,000 holds.
I don't know why, but that name sounded familiar in the back of my brain.
You've probably heard people talking about him.
Maybe
People rave about him, say he was, a good technical guy, which he was, to be fair. And it always makes me laugh because there was a because he called himself the man of 1,000 holds. There was one where Chris Jericho took the mick out of him and had like a big paper like this and goes, armbar. you need to see the thing. But anyway, so that's it. A little bit left field, this one. But yeah, there we go.
Wow. What are we going to do when we completely run out? Is the number thing going to go forever and we'll just keep re-evolving it? Or do you think there'll ever be a point where we say, okay, we can't name our episodes anymore?
I mean, I reckon once we're getting into the thousands, maybe we'll struggle there. But I mean, we've got a good few years, because if you think about it, that's going to be probably 17 years down the line. So hopefully we'll have thought of something by then. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think once we get past episode, obviously once we're past 99, we can't have Formula 1 driver numbers anymore. But the good thing is they've been well over 1,000 Grand Prix. So, if you look at like the system we used last week, where we looked at the 59th Grand Prix, who won it, etc., we can still use that system.
When we've done that many, we've got that many numbers, we could link it with a case citation.
Oh my word.
That'd be cool.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
That is literally brilliant. Yeah, we're doing that next week. We're gonna because there will be something with number 61 in the citation.
Yeah.
I'll find that. We'll just find a case from 1961.
There we go. So yeah, we'll mix it up. Case citations and Formula 1
I tell you what,
and wrestling.
That is interesting, that actually, because it can be a bit informative, and we'll throw a case out there from left field and talk about that case.
That's very clever, yeah.
I tell you what, we're evolving all the time.
We certainly are.
We're nothing if we're not revolutionary.
The ideas that we come up with at 9 o'clock in the morning. So watch this space, guys.
Watch this space, 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning. A little bit different to what I was meant to be doing today, isn't it?
Very different.
So I was meant to be the other side of the country. I was actually driving there last night, wasn't I? And then my clerks ring me whatever time. Yeah, the court have pulled your case, lack of court time.
It's so frustrating, that, isn't it? And I've seen a few posts on LinkedIn about this from barristers, and I think some of them have even said, like, the day morning of trial and stuff like that is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, whose fault is it? It's hard to point the blame exactly. I mean, I know you sort of say court, don't you? But then it's refunds and resources why the courts are strapped and why this is happening. It's really frustrating because, you've done all the prep, you've booked a hotel, but you couldn't get your money back, you were halfway there. it's so frustrating. And as I said to you, at least for the solicitors, I know this used to happen back when I was in private practice as well. It's still really annoying, and you feel for the clients when you have to call them and say, oh, it's not going ahead, it's going to be postponed, adjourned, whatever. At least we still get paid for our time.
Yeah.
You barristers don't.
No.
And when that hearing comes up again, because of how delayed it will be, it'll probably be months and months down the line, you're going to have to re-prep again.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to prep again for it, yeah. It's, yeah.
So I do feel for you when stuff like that happens.
I know, yeah. It's the nature of the beast, isn't it?
The nature of the beast. But with every cloud...
Yeah.
And because John isn't sat in a courtroom today, that means he's here with us.
Yeah, I'm here recording this nice and early, because we would have been recording this last night in a hotel room. Well, I would have been in a hotel room, you would have been here.
Yep.
But instead, I went to go and see Gunther Steiner, didn't I?
Yep.
Second time I've been to see him. I think it must have been part of the same tour, because he was talking about a lot of the same things, but he shaped it up enough. It was shaken up enough that it was different enough.
Do you need to tell everyone who he is?
Everyone knows Gunther Steiner.
Do they?
Well, they will do. But let's just say you're one of the few people that's never heard of him, because he rose to fame on the Drive to Survive programme, which I was dead late to the party getting onto that. So he was the team principal. So team principal is kind of the Formula 1 equivalent of a football manager of a team called Haas, who were an American Formula 1 team, bit of a smaller team, and Gunther's a real character. So he's from Northern Italy, but what's dead interesting with Northern Italy is the accent almost sounds sort of like German or Austrian. He's just an absolute character and doesn't care about what he says. He last night they were showing a clip from Drive to Survive, 90 seconds. And in 90 seconds, they counted 14 F words. He's so funny.
What a legend.
Yeah, he is. And so he's not in Formula 1 anymore.
Is he popular? Does everyone like him?
Oh, everyone loves him. He's by far and away the most popular.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Most popular team principal.
Oh, I thought it would have been Toto.
I mean, people like Toto,
yeah.
but for different reasons. Because, I mean, Toto, is a super serious guy. He's an absolute machine. He's a workhorse. I think he might even be a billionaire, to be honest. I'm not certain, because he's got a stake. He's got an ownership in the Mercedes team.
Right.
So not only is he team principal, he's got a stake in the team as well. And he's just an absolute machine, and that's why Mercedes were dominant for so long. Gunther obviously is equally good at the job, but he's also just a character. You know what I mean? If you were going to go to the pub for a pint with someone, you'd go with Gunther over.
Really?
I mean, I don't know, but yeah, he's a funny guy. But he left Formula 1 about 18 months ago. So now he's written books, he's doing these tours all over the world, and he does a bit of punditry on the TV as well. It's just quite funny. But what was interesting is he was in rally before he came to Formula 1. So he was basically the team principal of the M Sport Ford team, and he had his driver lineup was Colin McRae and Carlos Sainz Sr.
Wow.
What a driver lineup to have. Yeah. But anyway, I won't bore people talking about Gunther Steiner for too long.
No, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's talk law.
Let's talk law.
So, Hayley, have we had any questions?
We've had a few, actually.
Okay, go on. Let's
do you know,
hear some questions.
Do you know how we got the majority of these questions?
Tell me, Hayley, how did we get the majority of our questions?
This little space that we like to call the Speed Mooting Community Hub.
What is that, Hayley? Tell me all about this Speed Mooting Community Hub.
Well, it's funny you should ask, John, because it's a very good question.
Okay.
And this is a brand new feature of Speed Mooting, so just over a week old.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it literally is, isn't it? We launched last Wednesday.
We launched last Wednesday. So we have what we like to call, we call it Speed Squads, don't we?
Yeah.
So it's our own community of junior and aspiring lawyers that come to our events, are members of the Advocacy Club, engage with us on social media, and we reach out to these people by so many different ways, don't we? So, like I say, our socials, our mailing list, our YouTube channel, we have all these different channels where we reach people. But we really wanted to bring everyone together, didn't we, to one place. And a brilliant Liverpool-based company called Cypher Media came up with the solution for us, and they've built us the community hub. So it's like our own Facebook
It
social
pretty much
media
is,
channel,
that's
isn't
the way
it?
I describe it to people.
So anyone can sign up, completely free. All of our updates go in there. You'll hear from John and I directly in there. We've put in resources, learning courses. There's a leaderboard for people that engage. They get prizes relating to speed mooting. It's an amazing space, and anyone can join, like I say. So hub.speedmooting.com is the website. So if you're not already on there, go and check it out. And it's in its infancy, so any suggestions of other things you'd like to see on there, shout up and tell us. And IT permitting, we will.
Yeah.
So I think it was John that put a post in there saying, has anyone got any questions for this week's podcast? And a few people responded. So we've got a good few questions for this segment of the podcast, which we like to call Ask Speed Squad.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the questions.
Okay, let's dive in. What's the first question, Hayley?
So the first question is all about commercial awareness. So the question is, how to best focus your commercial awareness for applications and interviews. I've started to read up on areas that I'm interested in, but it feels a bit overwhelming with the amount of information out there. Any tips or advice would be great.
Do you want to start, Hayley? This is your bag.
Yeah, I can certainly start. So before we delve in, for anyone listening, if you're more towards the junior end or you just haven't delved into commercial awareness yet, what firms and chambers basically are referring to when they say they're looking for someone with commercial awareness is someone that just has an awareness of what's going on in the industry and beyond, things that affect the industry. So my advice on where to start and how to focus is, let's say it's someone that's looking to be a solicitor. So you should have already like a target list, and if you don't, it's a good idea to make one, like your top firms that you'd love to work for.
Yeah.
I probably had about 20. So the Magic Circle firms, even though I didn't have a desire to go to London, they were still on the list. Top 20 firms, there was a handful of those that I loved: Hill Dix, Waitman's, Irwin Mitchell, etc.
Yeah.
So you have your list of firms, and if you don't know where to start for commercial awareness, pick a couple of those firms and see what sectors they operate in. So are they huge in the real estate market? Are they huge in the education sector? What cases are they working on?
Yeah.
So they always have news sections on their website. They always have case analysis that they're involved in. So have a look at some of those. What are they working on? And it'll kind of just give you a ballpark of what areas you should be interested in. And most definitely, if you're going for applications and training contracts to these firms, you want to know what they're talking about. So get some information and articles from their own website. I would also say as well about external factors. It's good to, read around, check the BBC News, the Law Gazettes, all these places. Read as many articles as you want, as many articles that pique your interest. But to really delve into about 3 to 5 stories, 3 to 5 cases. Yeah. So those 3 to 5 things in depth, you can really talk about them. And you'd be surprised, how flexible you are. If you know 3 to 5 cases or emerging stories, you can probably tie them into most application questions or interview questions about commercial awareness. Yeah. So follow them along. You can set up alerts on Google and stuff like that. So let's think of something. AI is a commercial awareness topic. You could have an alert on your phone every time there's a new case about AI, or you could be following a case about AI and everything that happens about it, like AI in the legal industry. You know about it, so you can talk about that for a good 10-15 minutes. So you'll never be able to follow everything that's happening to that level. So pick 3 to 5 things that really interest you and that tie into the area of law you want to work in, and that tie in to the law firms that you're targeting, something that affects them. Yeah. And beyond just reading about it, I've just touched on it there, the things that firms will really like to see is, as well as just being aware of something, you really understand it. Yeah. And you can analyse it. So you can know, let's stick with AI, there's been a case about AI that says X, Y, and Z. This is really interesting to me, and I've been following this really closely because this could affect the type of clients that you have because they do X, Y, and Z. And this could also affect this law firm itself because you do X, Y, and Z. So it's interesting, and I'm following to see whether X is going to happen or Y is going to happen.
Yeah.
And you just, you're thinking critically about it. You're going that one step beyond. I've read this and I know this has happened too. Yeah. I'm really thinking about the impact this could have on you as a law firm, as a business, and your clients.
Yeah.
So hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, I think so. I think you've really covered it. So all I'd say is from a practical point of view, just think about, how it impacts the chambers or the firm that you want to go to. So number one, think about what area you're interested in. And let's say it's a chambers that you're looking at, and it's a specific type of commercial contract law or whatever, commercial disputes. Look at the types of cases that their juniors are doing. Think about, how do they get paid on those? Chances are it's commercial, so it's probably going to be privately paying. Where does the work come from? And what type of cases are they? So at least you can focus that and you can give, specific answers, because, there's the commercial awareness side of, the law side of things, and then there's the business side, which is how does the firm or the chambers make money? And, we've spoken about this before, but it's often overlooked. People go into interviews and they think they've got to be all sort of altruistic, talking about, oh, well, I'm here to, help this, that and the other person. I've got to, further my knowledge of the law. And, these are all relevant to your career, because ultimately, a career is not just about money. You are there to pique your own intellectual interest. You are there to help people, to serve, whatever. But at the end of the day, you're going into a business which exists to make money, and that business has to think about how does it make money. So that's what you've got to factor in, and it's not a taboo thing to say in an interview. If you're skirting around the issue, you're kidding everyone, because at the end of the day, whilst people are there for all these other reasons, at the end of the day, the chambers or the firm exists to make money. Yeah,
make no mistake, this is not a charitable business. No. I mean, there's pro bono cases and stuff, sure, there's a lot of CSR initiatives, but every law firm, every chambers needs to make money and make a profit to exist. So there's nothing wrong with showing that you understand that. I mean, we've talked about this in our interview fails episodes, haven't we? But one of my first interviews, she was asking me, like, what's the most important thing for us as a firm? And I was saying, to help your clients, to do this, to do it. Anything else? No, I can't think of anything. And she was like, well, what about to make money? And she said to me afterwards, like, there's nothing wrong with talking about money. We need to make money, or we can't do anything that we do for our clients. So yeah, it's a big part of it, as you say, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to our community club member, we hope that was helpful.
Any other questions, Hayley?
Yes, and this one is in your ballpark, John.
Okay.
In your wheelhouse, as you'd say.
Yeah, ready for this one.
How do you best handle a judge's question that you are not fully prepared for? You can see the heart of his eyes now. He loves these questions. Yeah. The advocacy questions.
The advocacy questions. I know all about this. This isn't commercial awareness.
There's more, though.
Oh, there's more.
There's more.
Go on.
Feel in speed mooting and also early on in your career at the bar, when you have less time to prepare your brief, it's the left field questions that can catch you unawares. You obviously can't ever lie to a judge, but is there a better method than just admitting you don't know and saying sorry?
Okay. Well, so number one, how are you dealing with a question when you're not prepared for it? So taking it a step back, try and be prepared. So I talk about this all the time. Judicial intervention in mooting is often where cases are won or lost, because quite often high-level mooting, they're both mooters tend to be very polished, or both teams of mooters, they're speaking slowly, they're citing the cases well, they're referring well to the law, so it's very hard to pick. So quite often it can be the way in which an individual deals with judicial intervention that wins or loses them a moot. So really focus on it. And then likewise, when you are in practice and you're dealing with legal arguments, more often than not, the bulk of your legal argument is dealing with judicial intervention. Okay, so you can go in, you're having your legal argument, you've got your skeleton argument there. The judge will no doubt be saying, once you've started, yeah, I'm with you on this, this, and this, but my concern is this. You answer, that prompts more questions from the judge, which prompts more questions from the judge. So judicial intervention is massive. Okay, so when you're prepping, think about where the weaknesses lie in your arguments. Think about, if you were prepping for the other side, what would be the strongest points that they're going to make, and what would they be trying to attack you on? So if you can think about that, i.e. where the strengths in your opponent's arguments lie and where the weaknesses in your argument lie, those are going to be ripe areas for questions. Okay, so think about it, and as you're going through, think about how you're going to deal with those. If it's mooting, normally it's going to be if the case law favours your opponent. So think about how you can distinguish key cases. Think about if there's anything you can, any obiter from case law that you can be citing. If there's any way that you can be saying that, well, the other case that your opponent relies on is only a high court judgment, it's only court of appeal, there's a stronger judgment that's, from elsewhere. So think about points like that. So number one is prep as much as you can, and even in your scenarios you've talked about, for example, speed mooting where you've got less than 24 hours or 7 days at the Advocacy Club, even still, really try and concentrate your preparation on how you're going to deal with those questions. Now, you might find a question that does absolutely come from left field. It might be in a hearing something comes up that you're not prepared for. So for example, there might be a piece of evidence that comes up last minute, late disclosure. Shouldn't happen, but it does. You're dealing with it on the hoof. I've had it where disclosure is provided in the middle of a trial, and so you're dealing with things on the hoof. So what will happen is over time, as you become more experienced, you learn how to think on the cuff. If you find yourself in a situation whereby something has come up genuinely last minute, you've not had time to prep for it, you can always ask for additional time. There's probably nothing wrong with that if something's been sprung on you last minute. But sometimes there might be a question that's posed and you are just genuinely not prepared for it. You didn't think about it. It is a bit left field. I think, wow, I didn't even think about that point. Once again, buy yourself some time. Mm-hmm. So number one, your Honour asks an interesting question. The way in which I would deal with it is as follows. Then a bit of a pause. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with just a genuine pause while the cogs are turning. The judge knows that. The judge knows that you're having a little think. And, you try and come up with it, as sensible an answer as you possibly can have. And, there's nothing that I can really tell you in terms of how you prepare for something like that. It's just an experience point. The more you do, the more advocacy you do, the more you will develop that ability to think on the cuff. Yeah. If it turns out, you've tried valiantly and, it's a point that you've got to concede, all you can really say is, I'm obliged. Yeah. So that's the way that you concede a point. My lord, I am obliged. And move on. Yeah.
Very good answer, John.
This video is brought to you by Speed Mooting. We are an organisation that help aspiring and junior lawyers. We run online and in-person advocacy and mooting competitions. We do online advocacy and public speaking training, and we run lots of other events to assist people on their legal journey. To learn more, visit our website, speedmooting.com.
And I think I would just add for people taking part in speed mooting competitions, or maybe people haven't taken part yet because, they are really scared of the judicial intervention point. Yeah. The good thing about speed mooting competitions is all of the research and drafting is done for you. You're working from a set amount of cases, and so are the judges. So as long as you've read the bundle back to front, you understand it, you've put the work in, you should know that, the questions are only going to come from this bundle. Yeah. So it's not like life in practice where the judge could have been like, well, have you not read that case from 4 years ago about that completely undermined everything you're saying? At least it's controlled. So speed mooting is, a good place to start because it's probably one of the best group of competitions out there where you can prepare for judicial intervention like the best that you're ever going to be able to.
Yeah, because there's only a limit on what you can be asked, isn't there? Yeah. So speed mooting, it's a good format for newbies because, as you say, there's no research or drafting. You're very limited in terms of what you can rely upon. But also, if you're experienced as well, it's a good little fun format because you're just thinking it's all about your oral advocacy. Yeah. Put that to the test, not about your research, not about your drafting. So it's a good competition. It tests everyone regardless of your level, and it levels the playing field, I reckon.
It does. It definitely does. So yeah, little plug for our competitions there. And if you're interested about what we have coming up, have a look at our brand spanking new website, speedmooting.com/events.
Yeah.
Another question?
Let's do it.
Okay, this was a question that came to us on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And it was somebody asking us all about the Advocacy Club. And the question that we're going to share for our audience today is, what type of topics do we cover at Advocacy Club?
Okay. So, we've got two sides to the Advocacy Club. We've got our public speaking and debating club that meets on the second to last Tuesday of the month. And every month we alternate between public speaking and debating. At public speaking, you can speak about anything you want. So it can be a legal talk, it can be non-legal. So non-legal, talk about your hobbies, your family, your pets, whatever you want. Legal, once again, talk about anything you want. Speeches are up to 6 minutes, so you get a good time to develop whatever it is that you're talking about. Debates, they're one-on-one, 5 minutes each with 2 minutes of rebuttals. And they're one-on-one, you can face points of information, and we're all mates at the Advocacy Club, so we keep our debates nice and non-controversial. They're still interesting topics. You still, there's still a lot to think about, lots to chew on, lots that you can really deal with, but we just don't deal with the obvious controversial topics. Then, the last Tuesday of the month, we have the Legal Advocacy Club, and this covers such a broad range. So you have, we cover pretty much all forms of law: civil, crime, family. And then we've got submissions advocacy. So within crime, you've got your bail application, your plea mitigation. Family, you've got your application for your non-molestation order. From a civil point of view, you're dealing with your application for default judgment, relief from sanctions. We then cover not just submissions advocacy, we've got trial advocacy, and we break it down into the different parts. So we've got opening speeches, we've got your witness handling, so your examination in chief, cross-examination. You have closing speeches, and then on top of that, our bread and butter, speed mooting. So, you're dealing with legal submissions as well, legal arguments. So pretty much everything you can think of is there.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is as well, is that it's transferable. So sometimes you might get questions from people saying, well, I'm very interested in, something really nuanced, really specific.
Admiralty law, we've had that one.
So let's take that as an example. So shipping law. Well, you're dealing with points that will be transferable to that because, that's going to be very law heavy, very black letter law heavy. So your mooting helps you with that because you've got your skeleton arguments there and you're developing legal arguments off the back of it. And then you've got your civil submissions advocacy. So you take those two together, they're the core skills that you need. Likewise, let's say you've got someone who's very interested in human rights law. I've done a human rights case now as well. So I know about these. These, once again, can be very law heavy. So that's where your mooting feeds in. But then also you've got your criminal stuff, so your general witness handling, your general closing speeches, what have you. And on top of that, you've got your criminal submission. So it all feeds in together. So taking everything that we do, putting them together, gives you the transferable skills for pretty much any area of law you want to do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any more to say on that one. That was a pretty comprehensive answer, John.
Thank you.
I like this one. And it's probably something that we can talk about for a good while.
Oh, go on.
What does a junior lawyer actually do day to day?
Wow.
So first of all, we're going to give you the most common lawyer answer to any question.
Yeah,
it depends. Let's take a junior solicitor first.
Okay.
So when I was a junior solicitor, a typical day for me would be a commute, followed by catching up on your inbox, making a to-do list, and plodding through that to-do list. So things like you might have a research task for an associate, you might have to put together a first draft for a client, you might have client calls, client meetings, internal meetings, you might have to file some pleadings, you might even, when I was a trainee, I had to run off to court occasionally to get something stamped before limitation ran out. So a typical day for a lawyer, like a solicitor in a lawyer's office, is all office-based tasks with a sprinkle of other excitement thrown in. So
Yeah.
it could be events that you're going to as well at the end of the day. As I say, running off to court is always a bit exciting. More senior people might take you along to a client meeting. Sometimes that's outside the office. So my real estate seat, for example, the real estate partner took me to a client meeting on their golf course that they were redeveloping. So that was an exciting day.
Oh wow, yeah.
We got to just walk around a golf course all day.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really fun, but yeah, it's there's no typical day, and it alters massively. Like, well, not massively, but it will alter depending on what area you're in. So, you know, if you're in a transactional real estate seat, there's probably a lot more admin-based tasks. You know, filing land registry things, etc. If you're in a dispute resolution seat, then there's probably a lot more client calls and client emails, because they're the ones that are on the phone and emailing you every day about a case that's leading up to court, etc.
Well, so when I was a junior solicitor, newly qualified, I was working in a firm that did privately funded criminal defence work. So yeah, it's interesting. I certainly wasn't as organised as you with the task list and all that kind of stuff that you do.
Oh, I had to.
But
I had to work that way.
I suppose you needed to, because were you working on the billable hours model?
Yes, billable hours model.
So I suppose you've got to be more careful with your time and planning it out, etc.
And litigation based, so it's deadline heavy, deadlines everywhere.
Yeah. Well, what we did, I mean, we used Proclaim, which is a brilliant case management system. I used that as a paralegal in other firms. Pretty much every firm I've been to, we've used Proclaim. I've never used any other case management systems, so there might be other good ones out there, but I really found that helpful. Basically, you know, that you'd have all your individual cases on there, but you had your general task list that told you what you needed to do and when. So yeah, so my kind of role was split between, you know, so you obviously have to commute to the office. Thankfully, it was only 15 minutes in the car, so it wasn't too bad. We had our own car park, free parking. So compared to when I was a paralegal and I had to get the train to work, you know, I was living the dream. Well, 2 trains to work actually. So yeah, so you commute in, get going. Mondays we'd normally have a bit of a team meeting, you know, discuss what's going forwards. Mondays were pretty heavy on the inquiries as well. I mean, we got inquiries through all the time, so whenever the phone rang, inquiry comes through, you know, you have a chat to them and that. But Mondays were particularly busy on the inquiries, so you'd be speaking to them, running your task list. So that could be anything from, you know, sending your initial client care letters through to drafting correspondence to the prosecution, drafting correspondence to your clients to update them, reviewing the evidence as and when it comes through. Sometimes a bit of drafting, so drafting defence statements, drafting skeleton arguments occasionally, and then sprinkled in on top of that was court work. So I was combining the two, because I have my rights solicitor advocate, so be going to court, doing your interlocutory hearings and trials. So yeah, the answer is I was doing pretty much everything and absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. The firm I worked for was incredible, and at the bar I still do a lot of work for this particular firm now, so it was brilliant, and I enjoyed that.
Okay, so speaking from the bar point of view then, what do you think? I know you never really experienced life as a junior barrister, did you? Because you went right in when you were very experienced, but let's say, what do you think a typical day will look like for a junior barrister?
So I reckon, let's say crime, for example. So let's say you were doing a mix of prosecution and defence. You'd have a few days, probably I would imagine, where during the week where you prosecute lists in the magistrates' court. So when you're prosecuting a list, you might be doing non-trial work. So that's where people are coming in, case after case after case, to enter their plea. If it's going to be a guilty plea, you better present the facts. This case is about this, this and this. Here's where I put it on the sentencing guidelines. Here's where, you know, we're applying for compensation, whatever it is, and then over to the defence to do their bits and bobs. Or you might be in a remand court, so you're applying to remand people, what have you. So you're just dealing with so many cases on a quick term. You know, you might do 15, 20 cases in a day, and you know, it's a full day in court, and you're having to prepare for that the night before. So it's fun. You know, you'll cut your teeth doing that. You'll learn it, but it's a lot of work. And then likewise on the defence side, you know, you might be asked to do very basic trials in the magistrates' court, or you might be on the other side going and doing your pleas and mitigation or what have you. But it's normally going to be trials, I would imagine, that you do in the magistrates' court. then hopefully, very quickly you'll start progressing onto some Crown Court work as well. So you might go ahead, you might do some PTPHs, so either from a prosecution or a defence standpoint, and that's basically like a case management type hearing. So your client will, the defendant is arraigned, they'll enter pleas. If it's going to be not guilty, you'll set out the bare bones for trial and set out your stage dates for when disclosure, defence statements, etc. are going to be dealt with. And you might have a few of those in a day, so once again, you'd be prepping for those the night before. And, you never know. Well, we're not talking pupils here, we're talking very junior. Hopefully, you build up good contacts with solicitors, or you'll get trickle-down return work from other people in chambers, and you'll start getting onto some Crown Court trials. Traditionally it would have been very, very basic stuff that you're doing at the outset, so, Section 47 assaults, low-level robberies, that kind of thing. But with the attrition at the bar at the minute, you're going to progress so quickly that you're going to get onto some decent work earlier in your career. So it's gonna be intense though, because the problem, it's not really a problem, but the thing with managing your practice as a barrister is you're in court all day, and then you've got to do attendance notes and prep. So when does that get done?
Yeah. Don't forget all the other little admin jobs that just
and then
come
all
alongside
the other little
with it.
bits and bobs.
All the calls with your clerks, figuring out your diary, keeping all your receipts, filing all your receipts.
Doing your VAT 4 times a year, doing your accounts, so it's all the other little bits and bobs. And, I've never been in a big chambers, but I don't know, it might be like being in a big commercial firm. It might be, you've got to do all your BD events and things like that, so I don't know where that figures.
Oh, you will do, but I've been to events run by exchange chambers, stuff like that. Yeah. They do a lot of networking events.
So you've probably got all that to factor in as well.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've got a busy practice as it is, and I don't necessarily need to be doing all that kind of stuff. But
we do far enough with speed mooting, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think that covers all my BD stuff.
Right. That is the end of the Ask Speed Squad segment.
Brilliant.
So if you've got any more questions for us, guys, send them in. You can email us, info@speedmooting.com, or you can join our community hub and ask us directly.
Absolutely. So I think that brings us towards the end of the episode.
Yes, although we do have an announcement first.
We do. I'm jumping ahead.
You are jumping ahead. Slow down, Speed Racer.
Slow your roll. So, big announcement. 5th of June. Correct date?
5th of June is the correct date.
5th of June. It's a Thursday, 7:30 on Zoom. You're going to see none other than me and David Bolt, who is the Education Director at Liverpool Speakers Club, deliver a course on public speaking.
A brand spanking new and completely free public speaking course for you all.
Absolutely. So it's going to be a good one, this. So myself and David will split it between ourselves, delivering some information and some advice on public speaking. So it's going to be a nice, engaging course. And then in the second half, you get to put your questions to us. So that will be fun. So I'll put David and I on our toes, answering your questions. Comes back to the question that was put before, wasn't it?
Yep.
I can't prepare for these questions. So we'll get to answer your questions there. So that's going to be a good one. As Hayley says, completely free. Get yourself on the website, or Community Hub, is it?
Website, John.
Website. Get yourself on the website. Get yourself signed up and join our free public speaking course. So.
And that brings us to the end.
Quick announcements. We did our public speaking session of the Advocacy Club last week. That was a good fun one.
We was enjoyed really good, yeah.
This week we've got the plea mitigation.
Next week,
I suppose, yeah. on the 27th of May. So by the time you're listening to this, it won't have happened yet. If you're not in the Advocacy Club, get yourself on our website, speedmooting.com. Get yourself signed up for the Advocacy Club, and you can take part in that very fun session. And if you're taking part in the plea mitigation competition, I would highly recommend it.
Definitely.
There we are.
That's another episode.
Another one in the bag. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. You enjoyed recording it, Hayley?
I've enjoyed recording it, John.
I've enjoyed recording too. And if you're still listening at this point, drop us a comment. Public speaking.
Public speaking.
With a little microphone.
Yes.
Perfect.
Bonus points for the microphone.
Bonus points for the microphone. Brilliant. Oh, speaking of points, we've got a sort of gamified system on the community hub, haven't we?
Yep.
So people can score points, and points make prizes. I can't remember who said that phrase, but it's a phrase, isn't it? Points make prizes. It's off one of these like game shows from the 80s, I think.
We'll use it.
Yeah.
Points make prizes.
Points make prizes, and the prizes are a one-on-one mentoring session with Hayley and I. There's a free month at the Advocacy Club, and the competition entry, so it's well worth engaging to win some prizes.
Absolutely.
That's the end. Cheerio.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Enjoying our videos? Then we'd be super grateful if you could take a moment and subscribe to our channel.